the year where it's time where things are moving and shaking and people are, changing schools and changing districts and changing everything happens about this time of the month. It's the highest part of our season, right? So,
Definitely.
so at that point in time, what do? One thing, we get really busy. We get to a point where we're going, okay, I've got all these deals going on. What do I do? Right? How do I get past this? Well, what I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about is how to become in a crazy market that we're in the highest season that we're going to be in. How do you become what we call the rainmaker? So a rainmaker is the person that comes in there and creates the income, creates the cash flow, and takes advantage of what's going on out there in the marketplace, right, guys? And so it's a very specific thing. But I think you got to look at it from the beginning and figure out, am I a rainmaker or who where do I fit in this process, right? So one of the first things you got to look at is that most people that get into real estate, and this is 100% about real estate agents, is that you've got about 60% of them that are out there that are just barely getting by, right? They do the things they have to do and they just barely get by, right? And then you've got about 10% of them that are doing really well. They feel comfortable. They got a comfortable lifestyle, right? And then you get about 27% of them out there that are just like, this ain't gonna work out. I'm gonna have to go and I'm gonna have to go flip hamburgers or whatever it is, right? But then you got that 3%. And that 3% is the ones that that we're looking at. The 3% are the ones that go out there and they become independently wealthy doing the exact same thing everybody else is doing. They're not doing anything any different than any of the other real estate agents. They're just doing it on a persistent and consistent basis to make sure that when times get good, seasons get good, they take advantage of. One of the craziest things in the world to me for a real estate agent is that when we go into the summertime market, and I look up and, half the office is at Panama City Beach, on vacation. I'm like, guys, this is the best time of the year to be working. And you decided that you need to take a vacation. I don't get that, Cozumel's good year round.
I think a lot of it too, like, I 100% agree, but we also got to remember that's when kids are off. That's when some spouses are off. And I absolutely agree. And the nice thing about the world we're in today is I can take a listing over the phone in Cozumel. I can do that, but it is definitely better to be there. And if we can structure our world differently than most people, which is nice.
Right. And I'm okay. I'm okay with a week. I mean, a week, everybody takes a week vacation. That's no big deal. And I think you should, because everybody's got to, but it can't be 3 weeks. It can't be a month,
I couldn't even imagine a month. I can barely fathom a week.
Yeah.
Like in a row.
But, and I know you've done it for years and, running offices for years, like I did, I look up and, and all the moms, they shut their business down during this time. I'm like, guys, this is the best time. Now I get, your kids are off and you need to take care of them. I got all that, let's make sure that we, that we spend the time, and because that's why we do this, so we can be with our families and things, right? But we also got to make sure that we take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of us, and that's the difference between just somebody being, being a real estate agent and being busy. But so the number one thing is you got to go in, you got to set goals. You got to set the goal, and you got to figure out how am I going to achieve the goal. So that that 3% that's out there that does that. Here's what I can tell you about that group of people. Each one of them have a clearly defined goal, and it's written. They've got they know exactly what they want to do, and they've written it down, and they look at it every day. They know that I'm going to do X, whatever X happens to be, and they're going to make. And I don't care if you're, if all you're trying to do is sell an extra 5 deals a year so that you can go on a cruise with your kids during that, that's fine. That's okay. Write it down. Make it a goal. Put it in place, right? That's the difference between an agent and a rainmaker. And when I say rainmaker, I'm not trying to say we all need to be multimillionaires. the rain is what you want that rain to be. If your goal is, I want to sell an extra 3 houses this year so that I can take a European river cruise, then that's cool. You know, but that's the goal. It's got to be down. It's got to be set. It's got to be written. It's got to be something that you look at on a regular basis, right? And so the idea of becoming the rainmaker can be, it can be a bunch of things. Now you may be the guy, that goes out there and says, "Hey, I want to pull it all down. I want to make this thing big." Well, that's okay. Write it down. Look at it every day and make sure that it happens. So handwritten goals that you read on a daily basis are crucial to making sure that you do it. Here's what I can tell you is that the bottom percentage of the people, that 27% we were talking about earlier, they've never written a goal down. They don't know. They wake up in the morning, have no clue what it is they're going to do. They hope that maybe a lead might come in somewhere that they don't know about, right? They might run into somebody at the grocery store, but that's not a business. That's dumb luck, right? And that's the difference between a business person and an agent, right? Is that a business person is going to have written goals that say, here's specifically what I want to do on this year's process. I'm going to go through and I'm going to make these things happen. An agent is just going to walk in there and do that. Go.
And that scheduling your time and this business above most businesses, it's not the hours you put into the business, it's what you put in the hours you work.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a book out there, The 4 Hour Work Week, that is just a great book for real estate agents, because you realize we work to our schedules.
Mm-hmm.
And the nice thing about us is we don't have schedules.
Right.
I know I need to get this stuff done. I can get it done in an hour, or I can get it done in 9 hours. Well, if I'm a salaried employee that's stuck there for 9 hours, it's going to take me 9 hours. But if I'm a business professional, I can get it done in an hour, or I can do twice as much in 2 hours, or I can do what I need to do and go do other things.
Right.
And having that freedom and that ability and that mindset change from employee to business owner, because that's what every real estate agent is huge. When saying, listen, you're not stuck sitting somewhere for 10 hours a day collecting a paycheck. You're out there making it happen.
Right. So here's what I found out is that agents that don't have written goals, they wake up, they kind of feel like they get in a rut, and then they get frustrated because they're not growing, their business is not going forward, but the big thing, one of the big things is they get caught up in worry all the time. You're always worrying about what's the next thing, how I'm going to get the next deal done, and when you're worrying, then what it does is it taps into the day when you wake up, you have no purpose because you don't know what you're going to do that day. And what then goes to where you don't know what your daily activities should be to get to where you want to be. And all that ties back to the fact that you don't have any goals and you don't know what you're trying to achieve, right? If you have goals and you know what you're trying to achieve, then you'll put together a plan that says, here's what I have to do to go achieve that goal, right? If you don't have that written goal down, then you're just kind of floundering around out there trying to wonder what you do. So one of the things that we've always talked about is write what we call it's an acronym called SMART. So you got a SMART goal, right? So a SMART goal is simple as this. It's got to be very specific and it's got to be written. It's got to be, this is what I want, not, and it can't be a dollar figure, it's got to be something that you're trying to achieve. I don't care if it's a trip to Disneyland or it's a new car or getting new grass in my front yard. I don't care what it is. It's got to be specific. But there's very specific, and then you write it down, right? And then it's got to be measurable. It's got to be something that you can measure. So if I say I would like to achieve this goal, then I have to know what is it that I have to do to achieve that goal and the activities it's going to take to get there. So you got to be able to measure it. If you can't measure it, it's not a goal. Let's just make that real clear, right? And then it's also got to be achievable, so it's got to be something that's not unrealistic. I'll never forget, I was sitting down in the office one day doing a coaching session and I had an agent come in. This agent has probably only sold 2 or 3 deals in her entire time she was in real estate, and it was probably more than a few years, right? And I said, okay. I said, so what, what do you need to do this year to help you get to the point where you want to be in real estate? And she looked, and I mean, she looked me dead in the eye and square and said, I need to make $1 million. And I'm like, okay. I said, so you've never made 10,000, but this year we need to make $1 million. I said, we can do it, but here's the reality of it is that you're going to have to change the activities that you do on a daily basis if you want to do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so the point of that is that you got to come in there and say it's got to be something that's achievable, and achievable goals are something you believe you can do. You can't walk in the door and go, the best thing you've ever done in real estate is, $5,000 a year, and then you walk in and tell me you want to make, $250,000. Now, can you do it? Yeah. Do you believe you can do it? Maybe, maybe not. And so you got to do something that makes sense. That when you wake up in the morning and 3 months from the day you set the goal, you can go, okay, it's not where I wanted it to be, but I still think I can get it. But if you set it huge out of control 3 months from now, you're going to go, this ain't never going to happen. And guess what you do? You quit. Right. And so Andrew, we can't let them do that.
No, absolutely. And it's so easy to do. It's so easy to have those pie in the sky goals. There's nothing wrong with the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal.
Oh yeah.
But there has to be steps in place and mini goals, because I think that's just as important as being measurable, is having accomplishments to keep you excited and motivated and moving forward, and opportunities. And so many times, you talk about this. If you don't come up with a plan, other people will find things for you to do if you don't find them for yourself.
Right.
Your spouse will say, "Hey, you don't have a real job. Go to the grocery store, do this, do that, go run these errands, do these honey-do lists."
Right.
Whatever it is, man or woman, it doesn't matter. But if you say, "Listen, this is my job. I've got to get this done today, and my day's not over till I get this done, however long it takes me to do that. And if I do get that done, I can start on tomorrow, or I can start planning and growing even more." But if you go in there with, "Hey, hopefully someone calls me," probably not going to help.
Yeah. Most unrealistic thing in real estate, and it happens to everybody I've ever had, is they get drug. It happened to me. I mean, my family are like, they'd call me at 2:00 on a Thursday afternoon and say, "Hey, can you go do this?" I'm like, "I'm working." Yeah. And they're like, "Okay, well, but we need you to do this." "Well, I'm sorry, I'm working. Why don't you go do it?" "Well, I can't do it because I'm working." It's like, come on, man. My work is the same as your work. And that's the mindset that you have to have. The other thing you got to remember is that goal has to be realistic, right? It's got to have a time frame set on it, and then you got to decide, do you have the skill sets to hit that, right? So if I got a time frame and I got the skill sets, if I don't have the skill sets, I can go get them. There's nothing that anybody can't learn how to do, right? But you got to think about it. Do I have the skill sets to go make that happen? Right. And that's why we do these trainings. That's why we do all the things we do. That's why we offer this stuff to you guys, is to make sure that that's never going to be the excuse why you didn't get anything because you don't have the skill set. We're here to help you get the skill set, but you got to do it. And then it's got to be based on time, right? You got to set an end date on this day, flag in the ground. That's when it's going to happen. That way we know we're shooting for the goal line. We're pushing for the goal line. We know where the goal line is, and we're going to go get it on a regular basis. So SMART goals. So that's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based, right? And so if you think about that, that's a great way to put together a simple process to get you where you need to go, right? And then you got to think about, and we're really here just mainly to talk about your business, but you got to think about those goals in all parts of your life, because if you don't, then you get out of whack and things don't happen properly for you. So really you should take that exact same process and put it into a bunch of different places in your life. You need to do that in your personal life, with your family and stuff. Because here's the biggest problem that happens to real estate agents, right? We wind up working on weekends. We wind up working, pretty much, because we don't set parameters with our clients, which that's a whole nother class that we'll do at some point in time, but we got to set that. But what happens is that, you're sitting at the soccer field and your phone's ringing and you're talking on the phone, your kid's out there scoring a goal and you didn't see it because you were on the phone talking to somebody that, 6 months ago said they might want to buy a house, but they can't get qualified. But you went ahead and talked to them on the phone during your kid's soccer game, right? It's got to be a personal goal that says, I don't talk on the phone during my kid's soccer game. You know what I'm saying? That's just got to be one of those things that you set. So you need to set these same smart goals in your personal life. You need to do it in your family life. You need to do it in your financial life. I mean, here, I think I've actually had a conversation with a young man today, and we were talking about the fact that if you come into this business and you don't, as an agent, you don't have two separate checking accounts, one for your personal life and one for your business, right? Then you're in a bad spot, guys. Every commission check you get should go into a business account, right? From that business account, you pay your business, you pay for your marketing, you do all the things that you do, and then you pay yourself from that business account into your personal account. Okay. Just like every business in the entire world does, right? That's the way you do it. Even if you're brand new and you have no money, I get it. You still need to start the process today to do that, right? So why do you do that? Because you're creating a habit that's going to put you in a position to get you to these goals that we're talking about, right? Because if you don't, you're going to look up and go, man, I made $100,000 last year and I have no idea where it is. Not one clue. And so you got to do that. And then also, then just make sure, and this, I never get very deep into this, but based upon who you are and the way you believe, you can put this same thing to effect in your spiritual life. So, think about that and make that be a piece. So there's basically 5 things you do. You do personal, you do financial, you do business, you do family, and you do spiritual, right? And if you'll get those goals set up in that place, that's going to put you in a position where you can become the rainmaker, right? And the rainmaker is the person that goes in there and makes the business happen. That's all it really means. So what's your thoughts, Andrew?
No, absolutely. And setting those parameters is huge, and we're all bad at it. I mean, I was watching a movie last night. All of a sudden, my phone rang. I was gone for 20 minutes on the phone, instead of come back. What I miss? Take it back. Well, they don't want to take it back.
Right.
They don't want to go back and rewatch 20 minutes of the show, but they like to eat, so we did it. And it is hard. We're very bad about setting expectations. This weekend's going to be tough for me because my son's in a soccer tournament, and I've got a client coming into town to want us to look at houses, and is only here for 3 days, and there's a birthday party and all these things where I was like, okay, we're going to have to pick and choose. We're not going to pull off everything, and trying to figure out how I can balance all those things. It's difficult, but luckily my family understands. Hey,
right.
when Dad sells real estate, we can continue living in our home for them.
Right.
But
yeah,
it's fun. And we do have to work around people's schedules sometimes because they're out of town and they're coming into town just for a certain amount of time.
Yeah. Well, and you have to have a standard, and then outside of that standard, there's some you can break that rule. I mean, here's the conversation I had with every single person I ever sat down with went just simply like this. It said, guys, here's the deal. I work Monday through Friday, 9 till 6. I work Saturday, 10 till 2, and I don't work on Sunday. Is that going to be a problem for you? And I've never had anybody say it was going to be a problem for them, right? In all the years I've done this. But then I have the guy that flies in from California, says I'm going to get there on Friday. That's outside that parameter. That's a little different deal. I'll bend what I have to do to help that guy out. Right. Yeah. But 90% of the people that I dealt with fell into the other category, and people, as long as you're the one that sets the standard, then they're okay with it. If they know, as long as they know, they're good. But if
Absolutely.
but if you don't tell them anything, they think you're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You know, they're texting you at 9:30 at night, going, "Hey, I saw these 27 houses on Zillow." Yeah, great. I got you.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so so guys, really, what it's all about is it's at some certain point in time, you have to decide to be the business owner, and you have to decide how to set the parameters for your business. Right now, I'm not saying you have to do what I did. I did that because that fit my lifestyle. You may go in there and say, "Hey, look, you don't get it. I'll work 80 hours a week for them. I'm 100% behind that. If you want to do it, go do it. But make sure you know which 80 hours a week you're going to work, right? And again, like Andrew said, there'll be some things that come in there that are outside of that, but 90% of them are not.
No, absolutely. And people will take as long as you let them.
Right.
And and we need to understand that and set those goals. If you called your doctor at midnight, I called you, you didn't answer. Why would I answer you at midnight? The
Right.
same is true for you.
Right.
You're a professional. Now, I'm not saying we're doctors and we're,
No.
but we're professionals, and I'm a professional just like anyone else is. Don't call the mechanics garage at 8 o'clock at night and be flabbergasted that they didn't answer the phone. They're not going to be there. They're not working.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing is that here's what I know about real estate agents is that they have big hearts. They want to help everybody. I mean, I can't tell you how many hundreds of conversations I've had with people that want to get involved in real estate. Said, I just love people. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. I love people too. From 9 o'clock on Monday morning till 6 o'clock. I work 9 to 6 Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Saturday, and I work on Sunday. I love them all during that time. Those other times, yeah.
Exactly, and it's tough. Setting those parameters is tough. It's just like new agents when you say you need to book time for your family. It's like, well, what is someone supposed to show us? Well, what if you were showing a house to somebody else at the time? Well, I say I couldn't. Then that's the answer.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, and the other thing, you're the one that's setting the appointment. So when the house comes up for showing, you set the appointment within the side of your parameters. Right. That's what you do. Nobody knows that you're the one setting the appointment. So set the appointment that makes sense. Right. They say, now I get this crazy market we're in right now. You kind of got to jump on stuff. I mean, I get that. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not ever going to be the person that goes, "Oh, I don't get that." Here's the deal: is that sometimes you're going to have to bend that rule, but if you don't have a rule, there's no rule to bend. Now you just become a slave to everything that's going. And then guess what? When you wind up with 10 buyers like that, you're going to pull your hair. You're going to look like Andrew.
Yeah.
You can pull all your hair out. It's going to be gone. I mean, so really, really be careful with that, guys. Make sure that you're the one that dictates how your business works. Now, I mean, and never think that I'm not one. And we kind of got into it a little bit earlier, but it's a seasonality thing, and we're getting into that high part of this season. So I know that during this part of the season, from a buyer and seller standpoint, that I'm going to put way more hours in now during this time for the next 3 to 4 months than I did during November, December. I mean, that's just the reality of it. We know that, it, everybody knows it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's going to happen, right? So, but I'm okay with that because I chose to do this, right? But I also know that if I would have been smart in November and December and stuck to my guns, I'd be incredibly refreshed right now when it's time to go into this piece of the deal, right? And that's the thing that I really want you guys to learn is that you can be the rainmaker. You can go out there and make great things happen in your business, but you can also dictate it to it. Now, never use this for an excuse to say, "Oh, well, I'm only going to work 20 hours a week." That ain't going to cut it, right? But it also, when you're sitting out there on Saturday morning and you didn't have anything booked and your phone rings, and here's what I know. I watch more soccer games than probably anybody that's on this call. All right. I mean, I got one that's done, went way deep into the soccer thing. Here's what I know. There's even when they get to the highest level, it was a 40-minute half on the first, and it was a 40-minute half on the second, right? That's 80 minutes. If they can't last 80 minutes for me to have a phone call, then I don't really want them as a client. I'm just going to make that clear. You know, I mean, it's 80 minutes. It's not 3 days. It's not 24 hours. It's 80. That's an hour and 20 minutes. If they can't give me an hour and 20 minutes with my family, then I don't really need them as a client.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, but if I don't tell them that up front and let them know, here's the situation, then that's my bad. I should have told them that, right? If I don't tell them that, then their expectation should be that when they call me, I answer the phone. I mean, realistic. So I don't know if we really stayed on track there very much today, but I think we put a bunch of good information out into the market.
I think setting expectations is always the best advice you could ever give. Is if you don't set guidelines, expectations, and because that's the thing is, even communication style is like, hey, it's like, you never call me. Well, I didn't have anything to call you. Well, if we didn't have a plan, I'm going to call you on Thursdays. Does that work for you? Yeah. Okay. Now I have to call you on Thursday. Right. But if I assume you don't want to call and you're sitting there freaking out that I'm not calling you, we don't know what's going on. If we haven't set that expectation early, it doesn't do us any good. So I think where you're at is absolutely right and what we need to do. But I think we hit what we wanted to. And like you said, is if you go in there with a goal, with a plan, and the measurable tasks to achieve that goal and do them, you will.
Right.
And you will be the rainmaker.
Yeah. Well, guys, what a great conversation. So just a couple things. One, if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth market on April 5th and April 6th, our dear friend Andrew will be teaching on April 5th, Legal 1 and 2, and on April 6th, Broker Responsibility. If you haven't got any information on that, you can send an email to kent@kentbush.com, and I will get that information over to you. We'd love to have you. It's going to be a great class. We got a big group coming. And I always like, the bigger the group, the more conversation we have, the more conversation have, the more we learn. So yeah, it's so that's going to be a great time. We're looking forward to having Andrew up here in Dallas-Fort Worth with us. So other than that, guys, man, what a great afternoon. Let's go out there and put some of this stuff to use, and let's go make some money.
All right, Ken, always a pleasure. We'll see you next week in person.
All right, buddy.
All right.